Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how we can create a flowchart within Google Drawing. So first off, I just wanted to show you the basic components of a flowchart. I'm going to show you the very basic pieces. This can get very involved and very detailed, but for our purposes, I'm just going to go over the basic pieces of a flowchart. The first one, which is the oval, this is known as the terminator. And essentially you start and end your flowchart with one of these symbols, these elongated ovals. A square would be something that would be considered a process. You'll see an example of this, but adding a number to another number or performing some sort of function or task is what typically you would see a process. A decision, this is a diamond or a rhombus. And typically what you'll see is an arrow come down, and it's usually a yes or no, true or false type question. And then it goes down one path if yes is used as the response and no would be a different path if that is used as a response. And then this sort of slanted square or rectangle would be an input-output. We won't use this too much in the beginning, but it is one of the basic ones and thought that I'd mention it, as well as arrows that show flow. So let's start with a fresh Google Drawing. And by the way, to get a Google Drawing, you simply just go to your file within Google Drive. So let me just go to Google Drive real quick. And if you go under New and More, and you should see Google Drawing, and it should start up a new Google Drawing. Okay, so we'll go back to an example. I'm going to create a flow chart to see if a lamp works. So first thing we want to do is start with that oval. You can get to all of your components by going under Shape, going under the first submenu, which is Shapes, and then the last section. So it should say Flowchart Process and Flowchart, Decision. So the first one we're going to go to is the Flowchart Terminator. Bring that in. And depending on how big your flowchart will be, will dictate how big you make your objects here, but we're not going to have too many objects, so I'll draw mine pretty big. And normally what you want to do is start with either a question or a problem. So in this instance, I want to know what to do if my lamp doesn't work. So I'm just going to type lamp doesn't work, and this will start my flow diagram. Now I want to make sure I center this text, so I can just move over here and hit the center key. And the next thing involved is going to be a simple question. When you're troubleshooting to see if your lamp works, you want to know if it's plugged in or not, right? So that is an example of a yes or no question. So I'm going to go back to my shapes and find what is the flowchart decision, and I'm going to draw a diamond. And by the way, you want all this stuff centered and all arrows 90 degrees to each other. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute here. So my question is going to be now, is the lamp plugged in? Question mark. And you can play around with maybe changing, the font size a little bit here to make it look a little bit more presentable. Maybe put it over 2 lines here. And we can also center this, which I believe it is. There you go. So lamp plugged in. And we're going to have 2 directions of flow, whether or not the user is responding yes or no. But first, let's connect the terminator, the starting lamp doesn't work oval, with our decision point here. And I'm going to do that with an arrow. Now, if I just click on this, it's just going to be a line. So I'm just going to select arrow, and you should see a dot pop up right in the middle and then another one pop up in the middle. And now I've got my flow pointing in the right direction here. And I'm sure there's different options. You can make your arrows, bigger, different style. Let's see if that will. And it will change the direction on you. So there are different things that you can do. Now I'm still in arrow draw mode. So if I want to select the select arrow, not to be confused with the arrow drawing, this will allow me to be back in the mode where I can move things around. And you'll see these little red lines help determine if you are perpendicular or not. So now I have my first decision point, and I'm going to have an arrow drawn from each section here, one going to the right and one going down. And depending on how your flow goes, you can insert a text box here. I'm just going to call this the decision of no, it is not plugged in. And then I'm going to have effectively, it could be a process because I'm going to say plug in lamp, but since it's the very last item that you can do for this decision point, it's okay if you just create another terminator there. Now what I'm going to do is actually copy and paste this one for a couple of reasons. One, it's a bit of a shortcut, but two, I won't have to mess with the size of my oval if I want to keep it consistent. So I just brought this over, and all I have to do is change the text of this, and I can say something like, end plug in lamp. So I'm ending the process by plugging in the lamp. Okay. Now, if the lamp was already plugged in, obviously I'm going to bring another text box in here to give me yes. And here is where I would put another decision point. So again, I'm going to do the shortcut and copy and paste my existing diamond. But my next decision point is going to be, is the bulb burned out? So I'll change this text. Bulb burned out. And in this case, it's okay to not have a complete sentence in just a phrase that kind of gives you the gist, because as you can see, we don't want to clutter up what's inside of these objects here. So now I can see that I'm about to run out of room here. So there's a few things I can do. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control A, which will allow me to effectively shrink things down a little bit and move them around. Let's move this up here. Okay. And that will give me some freedom to add some more objects down here, because just like we had in this situation, we're going to have a yes/no answer to the question, is the bulb burnt out? So I'm just going to go ahead. Let me just adjust that real quick here. I'm going to go ahead and actually, I'm going to copy all three of these things and place them here. But I'm going to change the answer, because if the bulb is out, I'm going to end it by saying replace bulb. If it is not burnt out, then I'll just grab a copy of this arrow here. I may need to resize this arrow as well. And I'm going to grab another ending process here. So if I've gone through all those steps and there's nothing else I can do, then I'm just going to end it and say buy new lamp. So this is my flowchart, and of course somewhere I'd want to tile this. So I can create a text box, maybe in the upper right corner here, and say flowchart to troubleshoot a lamp. And you'll actually see a lot of these flowcharts in equipment, that you might buy that has something wrong, a vacuum cleaner, something that you can try different things to get it working. So this flowchart is sort of a graphical representation of an algorithm of what to do and steps that you can try. So I encourage you to try this on your own and do an activity in which you will select some problem or some question that you can answer through a flowchart. Now, this is a document now. This is a document that you can use and put into a Google Doc. But for now, if you create this drawing and submit this if requested, this is what you would submit. Your title, which in general, just call it flowchart _ and something that describes your flowchart. Hope this helps and good luck.